Hello, this is Mr. Held. If you're watching this video, then you have a substitute in my class, or you're someone looking to make a video game on Scratch. Either way, you're in the right place. I made this video, however you're using it, you'll probably want to pause it at different times so that you can keep up with what I'm doing. The first thing, however, you should do is go to scratch.mit.edu, and you need to sign up, or if you already have an account, you can just sign in that way. So I have an account, so I'm just going to go ahead and sign in. And we're going to make a very basic game. So the first thing you should do is start a new project. Even if you don't have any projects going on, just start a new project right here. Okay? So we're going to start a new project. And we start off and we have one sprite right here. It's this cat. It comes with it. And there's no code. It does have two costumes. One costume going to the right and still going to the right, and it's a little bit animated, so if it were to switch back and forth, it looks as if he's walking. Alright? There's no code to make him move yet, so we're going to start right there. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go to events and we'll pull out when the flag is clicked, and we'll give him some motion. Let's just have him move. So when I click the flag, he moves. 10 steps. Okay. But I want this game to give it a little more interaction. I want to use the keyboard to move, and I'm just going to use the arrow keys. So I click on the sensing tab here, and I'll pull this out, and it's the default setting is mouse pointer, sorry. So I'll go over to the sensing tab and I click on key pressed, and I'll pull that out, and so then I'm going to turn this into right arrow because I want him to move to the right. And I'll go to control and I'll say if right arrow is pressed, then, and I'll move this, he'll move 10 steps. Okay, and now I will hit reset. So game is started. I'm going to push the right arrow and nothing happens. So right off the bat, I want to help you understand that code is very literal. This is a very simple type of coding with blocks, and we pick things, but it means exactly what it says. Here it says if I click the flag, if the right arrow is pressed, I'll move 10 steps. I click the flag, nothing happens because I'm not pushing the right arrow. If I actually push the right arrow, you can't see that I'm doing it right now, but now I click the flag, he actually does move. Because when I click the flag, I actually am pushing the right arrow. So in code that you want to happen anytime in the game, not just at the start of the game, needs to be in a forever loop. So I went over to control, I grabbed the forever loop, and now I put that into a forever loop, and I click the flag, and now whenever I press the right arrow, he moves. Now he's off screen. I can actually click on him, and if I can grab him and drag him back if I want. There's other ways to get him to move, but that way with this code I can get him to move to the right. Alright, but what if I want him to move to the left? Well, if I were to change this to negative 10 steps, and now I push the right arrow, he moves to the left. So what I could do is I'm going to two-finger click this because I'm using a Mac. whatever way you use, or right click on a PC to get this menu to come up, and I'll just duplicate that. If you can't figure out how to pull up that menu, you could always come back here and pull the things out, but you should be able to figure out how to pull that menu up. Alright, next, so here I will change this to left arrow, and I'm going to move this one back to, this one's still at right arrow, and I'm going to change this to positive 10, because positive 10 is to the right here, and negative 10 is to the left. Actually, the way this is coded is whatever the direction's set at, but I guess the default is to the right. So when I push to the right, they move right, and left, I move left. So now I can move back and forth. One more time, I'll duplicate this. Whoops, not that. I'm going to duplicate this right here 2 more times. And I want to do up arrow, and I want to do down arrow. So I can move up and down, left and right. Unfortunately, when I do up and down, well, they're negative 10 steps. So now I have to look at this a little closer. This says move 10 steps. I'm going to go back to the motion. And if you take a look, there's more options than just move 10 steps. There's a lot of options. And one thing is just when you're trying to make a game and you have some ideas, just looking at all the options there are to this game. But there's a lot of options, so I'm going to keep this very simple and help you understand. So this game works on an XY coordinate system, just like we learned in algebra, which is really cool and makes it really, for people that understand algebra, really simple to understand. At least I think so. So here in the motion area, you have different, you have right here we have change X by, and down here we have change Y by. So instead of using move 10 steps, I'm actually going to take that out of here, and I'll just put it over here and it just goes away. And then I'm going to change that with change X by 10. Now it doesn't really affect my right and left movement because that was working already anyways, but I'm just going to do that because it's going to be better for the way we'll code this. And I'll change that to negative 10. And here, this is up and down, so it's no longer X. X is horizontal. Y is the up and down movements that we're going to use. So I'm going to switch to change Y by for these two. So now, and up is going to be positive, and down is going to be negative. And this is really important because a lot of things we'll do in this game will have to do with that. So now when I reset the game, I'm able to move up, down, left, and right, which is great. So I can move around in my game. Okay? But it doesn't really look like I'm moving. I'm just kind of like floating around. So I actually have this costume right here, and it will make me look like I'm moving to the right. Alright? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that. And I'm going to introduce something called a variable. So down here, second to last, variables, there's already one built in. I'm just going to create a new one. And I'm going to call this frame. I just like it to call it that. It's pretty arbitrary what you call your variables as long as you know what they mean. But I like frame because it's like a new frame in the video or whatever you want to think. So I have this variable now, frame, and the default setting is when you create a variable, it's shown. So we'll let it be shown so we can see what it's doing. Alright? Also, you can pull this frame out and use that in your code, which is important to know. And now that I have frame, I have these different things I can do with frame. So while I'm here, I'm just going to grab set frame to 0. Whenever you create a variable somewhere in your game, and it doesn't, a lot of times it doesn't really matter where you do it, but if you create a variable, you need to set that variable to something. Now notice I did not put it inside the forever loop. I put it before it because I don't want this to always be 0. I just want it to be 0 at the beginning of the game. And it's just a good practice when you make a variable to make it some value. And typically it'll be 0, but it depends on how you do it. Like if it's hit points, then the number of hit points I have I don't want to set to 0 because that would not work. So you can kind of get the point there. Alright, so now that I have frame set up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a new control, and this is a different conditional statement than if then. It's if then else. Alright, I'll bring that in. Alright, and I'm going to move this here since it's there, and I'm going to put that right inside the if key right arrow press. So I'm just thinking about when I move to the right. Alright, and I'm just going to duplicate this and put it both places. So I'm moving to the right either way. But really what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the way that my cat looks when he moves. See, one way I want him, and so if I go to looks, the way he looks, so this is animation that I'm doing right now. I'm going to go to the switch costume to, and I wanted that to happen actually first before I move. And he has two costumes. He has a costume 1 right now and a costume 2. If I click here on costumes, you'll see what they are, right? And so basically I want it to switch back and forth. So I'm going to do that twice. I'm going to have two switch costumes. And in one case, I want them in costume 1. And the second case, I want them in costume 2. Okay? And how I'm going to do this is I'm going to use an operator. And it's a simple operator, the equal operator. The default is 50. I'm just going to quick change it to 0. And then I'm going to bring in that frame variable that I just created. And so like right at the start of the game, like when I reset the game, I tell the game frame is 0, and I just see it's 0. So if I click the right arrow, and if frame equals 0, then I'm going to switch to costume 1. And I'm going to change X by 10. Otherwise, I'm going to switch to costume 2, and I'm going to change X by 10. I'm going to move to the right either way. And so when I push right, well, I'm staying in this costume. Well, why? Well, what I need to do is I'm going to set frame to 1 after I move. Okay, so if frame 0, I'll move to 1. Alright, I'll reset the game. And now, I'll move him over a little bit. When I hit to the right, he changes his costume to costume 2. But he stays in that costume. Now that I push right, and actually even when I reset the game, he's still in that costume. For a second there, he changed. Look at that. It was really quick. Well, what I need to do is I need to set frame back to 0 here. And if I do that, then back and forth he'll move. So now when I reset the game and I push to the right, he's kind of walking, but it's jerky. Like it's hard to tell. Like sometimes he walks. It's not very, I don't know, uniform. It kind of happens really fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the wait command, and I'm going to bring in 0.1, and I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to do that on both of them and give it a little weight. Okay, and I'll reset it. And there's a few things that are happening in my game right now that I don't like. I do like the fact that it looks like he walks. He moves up and down still. That's not animated, but running to the adding this weight, it makes it look like he's walking, and you could play with that and change that amount to whatever graphics you're using to make it look like he's moving. Now I know some of you might be saying, whoa, that's pretty basic movement, we can do more. I'm just trying to make this as basic as I can right now to get us started. Alright, So now if we want this to happen in other directions, we would need the costumes to do it. So I'm going to play with this cat just a little bit longer before I bring in some new graphics, because we're limited with what we're given here. But so let's say I wanted to use this. I'm going to take this cat, and the first thing I'm going to do now that I'm actually starting to use this, and maybe this isn't that important right now because I'm going to just delete these in a minute, but I don't know, repetition is good. You always want to name stuff. Like when you try to code costume 1, costume 2, it doesn't mean anything. But write 1, write 2, it means a whole lot to me as a coder. So I don't have to switch back and forth and figure out which costumes, what name. Like, just get in the habit of naming things. It's really important. Alright, so I'm going to take this costume here and I'm going to turn it into another costume. So first I'm going to duplicate it, and it'll just automatically name it right 3. Alright, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it on the horizontal. So now I'm facing the left way. So really this is going to be called left 1. Alright, and I'm going to take this one, I'm not going to make a duplicate of left, because that's when he's like, see how his leg's like straight and this one's back. What I need is the left version of this. So I'm going to duplicate this one, and I'm going to flip it on the horizontal, and here we are. Now we have left 2. So left 2. Alright, and finally that we have the 2 costumes, we can go back to our code and we can look at right arrow, and now going down to left arrow, we can basically put in the same code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click this and duplicate. And so some of you that if you haven't figured out how to do that, you can see how important that's going to be going forward. Like, that's a lot to try to find and remake. It's so much easier. And that's really how coding is you just, once you start writing code, you just start figuring out what you can copy. But I digress. Let's move on. I'm just going to get rid of this altogether and put this inside. So almost everything is the same, except for I want to pick left 1 on my costume, and I want to pick left 2 for my costume down here. And also, like if I don't, like one student asked me, how do I make my character moonwalk? They asked me that in class. Well, I guess that would give you a moonwalk because I'm going backwards. But really, what I want to move left. And you got to have an ability to play a game. You got to be able to move in all directions. Otherwise, you can't access everything. So now it looks like I'm animated to the right and the left. Now, however, when I move up and down, I don't have any animation. Now, what I could do is I could, like, when I go up, I could animate that motion and then have it switch to this costume and move down. But at this point, I don't want to use this cat anymore. I just, and what's kind of cool about this is all the code we've built already, we're not going to delete it or anything. What we're going to do is we're going to find a new costume to use. So now what I'm going to do is just click on a new tab, and I'm just going to use the beautiful internet that we have. I mean, I could pull up a sprite sheet I've used in the past, but I'm just going to show you how to find one. So type of games I like are RPGs, role-playing games. I've been playing them since I was a kid. And of course I've searched this up a lot. I'm going to do something like RPG sprite sheet character. But really the sprite sheet I want to find is a student in my class today even just showed it to me. And it was the one he had. And it was a Link. It was of Link, but you know, that's the game called Zelda if you're a video game nerd like me. And in the images you can see there's a few right here. So really one of the things that makes a difference when you're looking for a sprite sheet are a few things, especially when you're using Scratch. You want to have, you know, if you want to move up and down and have this kind of style, you want to find one that has all your movements. especially if you're in my class, because that's what I'm looking for. And you want one that doesn't have like a background built in. And this one does not appear to be that. And this actually is exactly the sprite sheet that my student was using in class today, which is awesome. So I was able to find it pretty quickly. All right, and so the way I do it is I just two-finger click it again, bring up that menu, and say Save Image As. And it'll take a minute for my computer to pull this up, and it doesn't. It just has some random name. So I'll just give it a name. This one I'll call Zelda's Sprite Sheet. I don't know. And the most important thing, if you don't use computers a lot and download stuff and whatnot, I apologize if you do, and this is basic, but you got to understand where you're putting it, right? And there's a lot of ways to access it, but you got to be able to access it in a minute to put it up in Scratch. I'm using a Chrome browser, and I mean it's right here. Like I just downloaded it, so it comes up here, and so I can just tell it to show me it in the Finder, and that actually shows it where it is. Now, there's some other ways to do this, trust me, but this is to me is real basic. So now I'm in my game, and I want to upload basically this file into the game, and I want it to be a costume here of my character. So I'm going to go to costumes, and I'm going to highlight, just hover over this and get some options here, and one of them is upload a costume. Alright, and I think I can just throw it in there, right? Actually, right like that? No, that's not right. Well, here we go. So you just basically find it where you just had it, where you just saved it to. So I saved it to my desktop, and I have tons of things on here. So it's Zelda, so here it is for me. Alright, so now I have that sprite sheet in my game, and yeah, no, I don't want to use it as this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to convert this to bitmap, number one. I'm not too certain about the whole vector thing yet, even though I've been doing this for a while. And I'm going to look for actually right one. So you can zoom in using this, and so I'm basically looking for him moving to the right. And for the purposes of this, I want to pick one. I'm going to make right one him standing still. So I highlight the whole thing. As you see, I have this highlighted. I'm trying to take care not to highlight other characters, and I click on copy. And I'm going to click on the right one costume, which I've already coded, and I'm going to paste it in there. Alright, so that I've just turned from the cat to this Link character. Alright, but the problem is he's no longer in the center. Where that actual picture was towards the bottom. That's just how the image file worked. So what I'll have to do, and I need to make pretty good care to do this when I create these costumes, is to move him to the center, and the better you do it, the better it'll look. Like, I mean, if you kind of move him to the center like that, and then it won't work. You want to do a really good job of centering them. Alright? Okay, so I'm going to just move this up so that right 2 and right 1 are next to each other. And again, I don't need this. I don't need that. I'm going to convert to bitmap right now, because one of the things that happens is sometimes when you go between bitmap and vector, it'll distort your image, and I don't understand why that happens, but alright, so, and some of these are really, so as you can see, there's a lot of animations here so that you can actually put in more than what I'm going to put in right now in this video. But I'm just going to select this one, And I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to click on right 2 this time and paste them in. And just like before, it's going to be way down there on the palette, and I want to really center them. I'm going to even zoom in and make that a little bit better. I'm going to put that right there. Alright? And so now when I play the game, it looks like he's moving to the right. Alright? But actually, now I have to reset him. It was moving while I did that because I hadn't clicked off it yet. Alright, so now that one is set. So I have a right 1 and a right 2, and that guy is moving along. So next, I need to do left 1 and left 2. So same thing. I go on here and I find left 1. And I chose right 1 as him just standing still. So I'm going to do the same pattern. So I'm going to click that, highlight this left, copy it, and instead of the cat, now I know I could delete the whole thing altogether, but I already named it left 1s and so on and so forth. So, and this is something I need to move this over so I can zoom out. And I'm in vector, so I'm going to go to bitmap before I paste it. There we go. Alright. And I'm going to zoom in and make sure that's really centered. Alright. And finally, we'll choose... I think I'd be... It's this one right here. That's the one I want. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that trick I did before. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to copy it. And so I'll just show you the other way you could have done it. Another way you could have done it. I'm just going to delete the cat altogether. And then this right 3, it's not really right 3. This right 3 is really left 2 is what it's going to be, because I'm going to flip it horizontally. And there it is. Alright. And it may be, even though I named it the same thing, I'm just going to make sure that one was left 2. Alright. And there I move left and right very nicely. However, I don't move up and down with the same type of animation. And of course I don't, because I didn't add it to it yet, and I don't have the up and down costumes. I need to go in and create those as well. So again, going back into the costumes, but this time I need up and down. So this would be like I'm standing still. I don't like that because I don't see his legs. Well, I guess that's just how it is. See, there's like, okay, so this is standing still. I'm going to copy that one. So I click copy, and I'm going to do this a little different. So if I highlight this and click paint, it creates a whole new costume that's got a blank palette. And now I'll just paste that in there. And I'm going to zoom out, but it's still in the same position it was on the other sprite sheet, like it remembers where you got it from. So, yeah, I'm going to center this, and sometimes it'll take some adjustment, especially since I'm going between up and left and right. I'm not sure if that's going to look good, but it's okay. I'm going to create another costume as well for the other one, but I'm going to rename this front 1 and rename this front 2. There we go. And going back into the sprite sheet, I'm going to pick the one with the leg to the right. And copy that. And so that was front 2. And I'm going to paste it into front 2. And again, I need to center that. And we're going to use what? Whoops. And if you just click that, it'll give you one of their sprites that you can use with theirs. But you can do the same thing with those too. They're not bad. But anyways, I'm going to just create 2 more costumes because I already know that I gotta make them. So I'm going to do back 1, and then I can just copy back 1 and then go over to costume 2 and then paste back 1 there and go back 2. So just adding a little bit extra to show you that little tricks that we can use to go faster. And this is clearly right here in the middle, as always, on this sprite sheet, which is nice. And I'm going to do Control C here. That's actually copy. You can do that instead of using the paste. And Control V is paste, if that's easier for you. So I'm going to move him center, and finally, almost done here, guys. Let's do, I like this one. Let's just do this one as our second one. Alright. And maybe, you know, and later we could use all these if you want. I can show you later how to add all these. But for right now, I just want to get them to move around, and that's what your requirement is in class. So, now I go into costumes, I'm getting a little, and back 2, and I'm Control V and paste it in. And I can't see where center is, so I'll zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to zoom back in a little so I can get it nice. And there it is. Finally, we'll go into code, and we'll make this code work, because you'll see, oh, well, I added them, but nothing happened. Yeah, because we got to tell the code to do it too. So we're going to use this as our template, because we've been using it on the other ones. So I'm going to bring this from the left arrow one, and I'm going to bring this in. Well, we're not going to toss those out. We're going to set those aside. Okay? What we're going to do, though, is we're going up and down, so I'm going to grab out this X. Because we're going up and down, we need Y, and bring that in. Alright? Throw that away. We don't need that. And same thing with this other Y. And then there's other ways to do this. You can just grab a new Y if you can't find one, or however. So we're going to change Y by, not change X by. So I'm just going to take everything. Everything's going to be almost the same. It's just I need to change Y by, not X by. So get rid of that as well. And I'm going up. And up would be a positive 10. So I want to change Y by positive 10. Alright? In both. And I don't want my left one costume. If I'm going up, I'm going to see the back of myself. So I'm going to pick the back ones. I can't. Let me scroll down so I can see that. Back 2. Okay? Alright, almost there. Now I'm just going to duplicate this one more time. And now I want to go negative 10 because I'm going down. Negative 10. And I want to see the front. So I'll do front 1 and front 2. And there you have it. I just reset the game for good measure. And when I push down, it looks like I'm walking down. And when I push up, it looks like I'm walking up. When I push right, it looks like I'm walking right. And when I push left, it looks like I'm walking left. There we go. We've got motion, kind of, if you're into it like an RPG, I got Zelda, Link as my main character. You could have picked any sprite you wanted, though, to create this. As I said, though, before, like, certain sprite sheets are better than others. Some of them have even like one like this. Like I could really tell that this one is good, and I'll try to show you in the video. Let me try to find that one again. Like when you see the background especially change, like this one, they a lot of these look like they're going to be right, but like that one I'm pretty sure is not going to be good, because see, you'll have that green background around them. And it just doesn't mean white. It just means like basically the sprite sheet that I have, and I'll upload this in the Google Classroom if you're doing this as a student in my class. That one doesn't have any background at all, so I don't have to clean up around. Each one of these are like separate, and in the space between these guys, there's nothing actually there. I know you see these little squares, but in Scratch that means it's blank. Problem is if you take like if I were to take a screenshot somehow of this, all of a sudden now this is no longer blank. So it depends on which one you upload into your game. So we have movements here. Tune in next time for the next video to see how to add more.